You ever think you're just marrying someone, and then suddenly, it feels like you signed up for a game show? A twisted, humiliating, high-stakes game where you don't even know the rules until it's too late? Because that's exactly what happened to me. When I met her, I wasn't thinking about prenups, money, power plays, or being tested like a lab rat. I was thinking, holy sh*t, this woman is perfect. She wasn't just beautiful, though, yes, she was. She had this kind of quiet confidence, like she knew who she was and didn't need anyone's validation. She was wicked smart, had this dry, sarcastic sense of humor that could level a room, and could talk about anything, from politics to anime to obscure conspiracy theories, all in one sitting. We met in the most casual way, a friend's game night. She destroyed me in Settlers of Catan, and I was immediately hooked. Fast forward 2 years, and I was head over heels. We moved in together, adopted a dog, split bills, even shared groceries like a couple of responsible millennials. It felt equal. It felt right. She told me she loved me more every day. I was all in, but there was always one crack in the glass: her parents. From the moment I met them, I felt like I'd shown up to a dinner party dressed in a trash bag. They were nice, but not kind. Everything they said had a second layer. "You're so articulate," her mother told me with that frozen smile that screamed you shouldn't be. Her dad asked me if I had plans for upward mobility, like I was applying for a job at his bank, not dating his daughter. I laughed it off. At first, I thought, they'll warm up to me eventually. They didn't. They made it clear, without ever saying it directly, that I wasn't their kind of people. They lived in a gated community where the cars cost more than my college education. They threw charity galas, vacationed in the Alps, and sent their dog to a spa. A literal spa. Meanwhile, I worked in a mid-level tech job, had student loans, and wore the same pair of sneakers for 5 years straight. But she loved me, and I loved her. That's all that mattered, right? So when I proposed, I didn't hesitate. She said yes. And for a few months, it felt like a fairy tale. Until her parents invited us to dinner at their mansion. I should have known something was off when her dad opened the door himself. He never did that. The guy probably had a butler just for shaking hands. But there he was, smiling weirdly and acting cordial. They served us dinner like everything was normal, but I could feel it. Something was coming. And then it happened. Her father cleared his throat, pulled out a thick manila envelope, and slid it across the table. "I'm sure you understand," he said. "This is just to protect our daughter. Standard procedure." It was a prenup. I expected that. They were millionaires. Of course they'd want to protect their assets. I figured it would say something like, "If you divorce, you don't get her inheritance." Reasonable. But the second I opened that folder, my stomach dropped. This wasn't a prenup. It was a contract of humiliation. Pages and pages of conditions. I had to maintain a minimum income threshold that increased annually. If I ever dipped below it, even for a single year, she could file for divorce and I'd walk away with nothing. If I gained more than 15% of my body weight, it was grounds for divorce. If I was ever caught cheating, even texting something flirty, I had to pay $500,000 in emotional damages. And worst of all, they included a clause saying any children we had would bear her last name only unless I earned more than her father by year 5 of the marriage. I wanted to laugh. I thought it was a joke, but then I saw her face. She wasn't laughing. She looked horrified. "I tried to talk them out of it," she said. "They said they wouldn't pay for the wedding, or even come, unless you signed." So that was it. A test. They wanted to see if I'd walk away. Prove that I was in it for money, not love. I didn't sleep that night. I walked through the city alone until 3 a.m., replaying every insult, every backhanded comment they'd ever made. I wanted to throw that prenup in their smug faces and tell them to go to hell, but I didn't. I signed it, every single page. And when I handed it back, her dad blinked like he didn't know what to do. I don't think he expected me to call his bluff. We had a small wedding. Her parents sat in the front row, stone-faced. I didn't care. I was married to the woman I loved. That was all that mattered, or so I thought. The first year was hard. I worked nonstop, trying to keep up with their damn income threshold clause. I pushed myself to the edge just to prove I wasn't some lazy parasite. She supported me, begged me not to worry about the contract, told me we'd tear it up one day, but I couldn't forget it. It was like a ghost in the room. Every time her father called, I wondered if he was checking my financials behind my back. Every time I looked at the prenup framed in my desk drawer, I felt like a prisoner who'd agreed to his own sentence. Years passed, and you know what? I made it. Not just made it. I thrived. I started my own software firm. It took off. I built a team, developed an app, made more money than I ever thought I would. I exceeded the income clause by triple, bought us a house, took her on a trip to Greece. Hell, I even got into shape just to kill the weight clause out of spite. Her parents never said a word. No, we were wrong. No, you proved us wrong. Nothing. Then came the twist I never saw coming. Her dad got sick. Early onset dementia. At first, it was mild. Confusion. Repeating questions. Forgetting names. But it got worse. Fast. Her mother panicked. Turns out, her dad's empire wasn't as untouchable as everyone thought. He'd made risky investments. Quiet loans. High-interest debt buried in shell companies. It was all starting to collapse. That's when they called us. Dinner again. Just like before. Only this time, there were no smug smiles. Her mom looked tired. Her dad looked lost. They handed me a new folder. This time, it was a request. They wanted to restructure their assets into a family trust, one that I'd help manage. But there was a catch. The prenup blocked me from being part of the trust. They needed me to tear it up. I almost choked on my wine. You want me to what? Her mom launched into a speech about family unity, about starting fresh, about how proud they were of me, how they always believed in me deep down. I almost laughed. These were the people who legally documented that I wasn't even good enough to name my own children. And now they wanted me to save them? I didn't say anything then. I just nodded. Later that night, I asked my wife the question that had been sitting in my gut for years. If I hadn't signed that prenup, would you still have married me? She went silent. Tears welled up in her eyes. I don't know, she said. I wanted to, but I was scared. I didn't want to lose them. That answer told me everything I needed to know. So I made my decision. I didn't tear up the prenup. I had it framed. And every time her mom emails me now, begging for help, I look at that frame and remember, they tested me. I passed. They failed. And in life, some tests you don't get to retake. It's been 5 years since that dinner. 5 years since they came crawling with trembling hands and desperate eyes. And you know what? I haven't spoken to them since. Not a word. Not a visit. Not even a forwarded email. My wife still sees her mother occasionally. I don't ask what they talk about. I don't need to know. Whatever sympathy her mom's trying to milk, I'm not the one drinking. What I do know is that I kept building. I didn't just want to be successful. I wanted to be undeniable. The app one launched. It exploded. A productivity suite for freelancers, scheduling, invoicing, contracts, all powered by smart AI and cloud sync. It went viral in one of those weird tech Twitter threads and got featured on Product Hunt. By the end of the year, we were pulling in 7 figures monthly. I scaled the company, hired a CTO, opened a second office. Venture capital firms started knocking. I turned most of them down. I wasn't building this to cash out. I was building a fortress, my fortress, and with every success, I watched that prenup in its pristine glass frame. It used to haunt me. Now, it motivates me. Every clause, every insult baked into legalese. Proof that they saw me as nothing more than a contingency plan. A mistake waiting to happen. A burden, but I turned their prophecy into a blueprint. It changed me. I won't lie, I'm not the same man who met her at that game night. That guy believed in fairness, in giving people the benefit of the doubt, in love being enough. Now, I believe in leverage. Her parents taught me that. So, when the lawyers started circling her dad's estate like vultures, I did what any self-respecting man in my position would do. I bought the debt. Every single note. It wasn't hard. Half of it was floating between investment banks and private firms who didn't even remember they owned it. The rest? Quiet auctions, liquidations, shell LLCs. I spent months in the background, piecing it all together like a dark jigsaw puzzle. And when I owned it all, I called in the loans. Foreclosure, asset seizure, default. Her father's empire began to crumble. Her mother called me in a panic, screaming through tears about betrayal, about honor, about family obligations. I let her rant, and then I said 5 words I'd been holding for years. You should have been kinder sooner. The estate was sold. Not all of it, but enough. The mansion? Gone. The vacation properties? Liquidated. The family trust? Dismantled before it was even created. And I didn't do it out of spite. I did it to draw a line. You don't get to treat people like trash and expect them to clean up after you. My wife didn't say anything for weeks after it all went down. She just moved through the house like a shadow, quiet, distant. I gave her space. I didn't blame her. But one night, I found her in the study, sitting in front of that framed prenup, just staring. I didn't know they'd go that far, she whispered. They always would have, I said. The only reason they ever tolerated me was because they thought I'd fail, that I'd crawl back asking for help. But I didn't. She nodded slowly, but didn't look at me. And then she said something I'll never forget. Sometimes, I wonder if I married the man I loved, or the man who survived them? That stung, because I didn't know the answer either. The truth is, love doesn't survive that kind of war unscathed. It's changed, hardened, weathered by fire and betrayal and pride. I still loved her. Deep down, I think I always will. But the version of her I met all those years ago, she's gone. So is the version of me she fell for. And in their place are two people who share a home, a history, a bank account, but not much else. We don't fight. We're too tired for that. We're polite, cordial, a perfectly civil, perfectly successful married couple who stopped being a team the moment a folder hit the dinner table. I started sleeping in the guest room about 6 months ago. It wasn't a decision, just a slow drift. I stayed up late one night working, passed out on the couch, and never really went back. She never asked why. I think she already knew. Then, 3 months ago, came the real gut punch. She told me she was pregnant. I didn't even know how to react. I should have felt joy, panic, something, but all I felt was suspicion, because I remembered the clause, the name clause, and suddenly, the war I thought I'd won didn't feel over. It felt like the next round was about to begin. I asked her, carefully, what name she planned to give the baby. She hesitated, and then, almost in a whisper, she said, I was thinking, maybe both? Hyphenated. That's when I realized she was still afraid, not of me, of them. Even with her father in a care facility, his mind half gone, she still carried their judgment like a stone in her chest. That's when I knew I couldn't do this anymore. Not like this. So I hired a lawyer, not to divorce her. Not yet, but to write a new contract. My contract, a postnup. It outlined exactly what would happen if we stayed together and if we didn't. Equal split of assets. Joint custody. No bullshit clauses about weight or income or emotional damages. And the name? The baby would carry mine. Period. I gave it to her in a sealed envelope, just like her father had done all those years ago. She didn't cry this time. She just read it, closed the folder, and said, okay. I don't know if she agreed because she wanted to, or because she didn't want another war, but she signed. The baby was born 2 weeks ago. A boy, healthy, strong lungs, full head of hair. We named him Ethan. No hyphen, just my name. And when I held him for the first time, something broke open inside me. All the bitterness, all the years of clawing and proving and fighting, it melted. For a moment, there was no war. Just him, just us. I sit here now, in the nursery, while he sleeps. The framed prenup is gone from my desk. I replaced it with a photo of Ethan in my arms, drooling on my shirt. And I wonder, did I win? Or did I just survive? Because here's the truth they don't tell you about winning. Sometimes, it costs more than losing ever would have. I have everything I ever wanted. The house, the company, the power, the respect. But I lost something too. That wide-eyed man who believed love could conquer anything. The man who thought signing that folder was an act of devotion, not desperation. The man who thought passing their test would earn their love, not reveal their hate. He's gone. And in his place, a man who doesn't trust easily, who watches everyone like a chessboard, who keeps receipts, digital and emotional. A man who will teach his son how to love, but also how to protect himself. Because love is beautiful. But power? Power makes you safe. Her mother reached out last week. Said she wanted to meet Ethan. Just once, she wrote. Please, I need to see my grandson. I didn't answer. Instead, I printed out her message, folded it carefully, and slipped it into a drawer under the prenup. Let the past collect its dust. My son will never know that version of me. He'll know the man who held him through the night, who built a life from ashes, who didn't bend when the world demanded it. And maybe, just maybe, he'll never have to pass the kind of test I did, because I already took it for him, and I passed.